Hey guys, today I'm going to do a funky method sent to me by a guy named with the username of Schon, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's got a O with the umlaut and stuff, and I looked it up online. I could be misremembering how to pronounce that. But we're going to be using Williams. This is modern Williams, and he had a kind of an interesting, it's a double pass method of lathering up the Williams, and it's going to be a face lather today. I am going to try a different blade with my Karve Christopher Bradley, the AA open comb base plate here. It's given me some blade feel, right? It's the lowest gap open comb that Karve makes, but I'm still getting some blade feel. So I'm going to play around with another blade with it, the Gillette Silver Blue, and it's got about eight or nine shaves on it so far. And as of right now, 1 minute into the video, this water is 9 minutes away from being boiling, and I'm using this insulated cup here to hold it, so it should be still quite warm by the time we get around to using it. That was one of his concepts. Okay, and the brush we're going to use is the Whip Dog High Mountain White, and he is in warm water as well. The balm I plan to use at the end is Mountain Man from Stirling. Silver Mountain Water is the Creed scent that is based off of. I really enjoy it a lot. Now, Schon says that no blooming or soaking of the brush is necessary here. Now, I, however, don't plan on, I wouldn't, and he says he could use it on any brush type. He likes the synthetic best of all, but I suppose he means that he's tried it with boars and badgers alike. And I would not use it with a boar this way. I like to pre-soak my boars at least 3 or 4 minutes, sometimes 15, to get a really good flexible shaft. And you know, and that's going to be up to you. But as for me, I like to make sure that my brushes are soaked more than that. And so I disagree with him kind of in the general concept here. In that sense, or at least my preferences don't match his preferences for that. And so what, I think we'll go ahead and do it. Basically, it's a double pass method where where you take and microwave some water, get it really hot, almost boiling, he said, if you can, whatever you can tolerate, and have it in a mug, a separate mug, next to your mug of soap. Now, this is a dry puck that hasn't been used in a couple of months. So we are dealing with the dry pucks. That'll be a good comparison. It is modern Williams. It's not vintage. And basically, we're going to quickly plunge the brush into the really, really, really hot water, pull it out, and then do about 10 swirls on the puck. Not shaking any water out, anything like that. Okay, and then we're going to apply that slurry to the face for a little while, thoroughly, he says. And then we will go back and do the second load of about 10 to 12 more swirls. Then it's taking that second loaded brush now to the face, and then that's when you kind of work in the lather the rest of the way. Okay, and then your lather then should be loaded with soaps, with enough, your brush should be loaded with enough lather to then, some water dips back into the hot water is all you need to kind of freshen up the brush, to keep giving yourself lather throughout the rest of the shave. So that's the way he described it to me in his message. He is a little technically unable to put together a video at this time, and so he said he wouldn't mind if I put together and showed his method online here. And so let's just do it and see what happens. Okay, about 12 minutes after the water was boiling. Now here's the thing, here's a caution. Of course, if you're using boiling water or near boiling water, observe proper safety precautions and be careful. But also, you don't want to damage your brushes, right? I have steamed knots out of brushes and damaged permanently. I have permanently bent synthetic brushes' hairs because of that steam. And so I would just use very hot water myself. I wouldn't try to get it really, really, really hot. And also, I would now at the same time, with a synthetic knot, since they're a dime a dozen, I wouldn't mind taking a synthetic knot and abusing it like crazy because they're cheap. And so, you know, big deal. You just buy another one, you're ready to go. Whereas a bore that I've worked a really long time to get split and to have it open up and all that stuff, I would only chance it with just, you know, warm water or almost hot water myself. Of course, that's a decision you have to make. And if it's a good badger, then I kind of feel the same way. I don't want to abuse it. I don't want that extra heat to damage the tips. I've also had a badger brush, a silver tip, damaged tips. Those nice little fine tips just obliterated because of excessive heat from steam. Now, of course, steam is hotter than water that's not boiling anymore, but you see my point. And so there's a risk involved depending on if your water is really hot. Now, tomorrow I think I'll do an experiment, do the same thing with lukewarm water, and we'll see how it turns out. All right. But today we're going to use really, really hot water. I've still got some water vapor coming up from the water, so we know it's still quite hot. I also picked the Whip Dog bore, the badger brush, the High Mountain White Badger, on purpose because the knot is not very expensive, and the tips are also got some firmness to them. And so if all of a sudden they turn soft, then I know that this method has impacted the tips in a significant way. Now, I'll probably come away with no difference, but I feel like it's a safe knot to practice on. And of course, he did not advocate taking the whole knot, including the knot root ball and the handle and all that. He didn't say put all that in the water, just the knot itself, almost up to the handle is what he said. All right, so here we go. Let's give it a shot. We've got a dry puck of Williams. Let me go ahead and pre-moisten my face. Oh, and then with the blade in the razor, I should have been doing that while I was talking. It won't take too long. And this is a blade that I've used a lot. This model of blade, the silver blue, is a reliable blade for me in so many razors. It just is comfortable as well as close shaving. So it's definitely one of my favorites. And I hit a sale on these a couple of years ago. I'm glad I jumped on it. I've got a ton of them. All right, ready to go with the AA open comb. And so we're going to do, now, you know, he might be coming at this, you know, hot water right here with a dry brush. You know, he said no need to soak or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of wring the brush out so that at least it doesn't have any of that warm water left in it from my soak cup. But at least it's not going to be overly impacted by the hot. So just a quick dip is what he said. Okay, like that. It held a lot of water right there, but he said don't give it a shake. And then we're going to do 10 swirls in the mug. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Is that what he said? Yes. Okay. Now there we go. Now we've got a really wet brush here. It's still kind of dripping. Okay, but in essence, what we've done is bloomed our puck. And I think that might be one of the reasons his method is successful, because it's almost like blooming your puck. Okay, so we've got a little bit of soap on there. Let's just see what happens as we start to kind of, you can almost consider this a pre-wash. So now we've bloomed our puck in essence. And then we're also kind of priming our face with slippery stuff. Now as you see, this did not pick up very much soap. So it is, this did not work very well. Now the soap did come loose, so let's give it another chance. Let's go back in with a little bit of water and then kind of give it a little bit more work here to try to get something more like an initial slurry here on my face. Now the warm sensation is nice. I usually shave with cooler water. Now, you know, heat does tend to inflame and swell. So if you have inflammation during your shave due to other issues like an aggressive razor or something like that, then I recommend switching to a cool rinse or cool lather. And look, we've got kind of this a very foamy, airy kind of lather that's popped up here. And definitely not creamy, but what it could be is just needing some time here. Also, if you really pursue the hot lather and I understand that people who use scuttles and use lather in those scuttles that is where the water is just almost boiling, that the excessive heat can kill a lather. I've never had that problem, but just to pass it on, you can have it too hot and that will kind of mess your lather up. So now we continue to increase in volume here as we're, you know, kind of mixing up the lather here. It's still warm. That's one of the nice things that, as you can see, it's got a good bit of structure to it. It's holding on to that. Might be tempted to take, yeah, I think I will. I'll take some of this off and put it in my bowl before it just falls off and is wasted. This is a kind of an airy lather that probably is going to need a little bit of water soon. But I just kind of want to work it in and just kind of see how it stabilizes. I believe we've kind of incorporated all the water that was in the brush into the lather by now. And so we can kind of take this away, save it. Okay, then let's bring some dribbles of water into the brush now and see if we can kind of cause this to kind of get creamy and nice. A little on the dry side right now. I have been working through an email that I got from a viewer, and he had some great questions. He has been talking with people about working on his lathers, and he visually likes those really thick lathers that you see so many YouTubers generate. And I look at them and I go, wow, that's too thick for me. You know, and of course it's all about preference, right? You know, there's no right or wrong here. It's whichever one makes you happy. As I add a few more drops to the brush here. And one thing I do want to try that kind of piqued my curiosity was, you know, so many of these guys are using these, what I would say would be a very dry lather. But they are kind of really working it, you know, into their face at a state where it was just so pasty, you know. And so I'm actually curious if I were to take, and they're generally overloading. They're using more soap than I would use for 3 shaves, and they're doing it in 1 shave, and it's all going down the drain on that first pass. Or most of it is. Let's just kind of feel my face here. Yeah, a little bit more than one days of growth here, so, but generally pretty standard here. And they're just taking tons of product. Now here's what's funny. The Gentleman's Nod guy did a video, and he was just slathering on tons of soap. And it makes me wonder, you know, are any of these makers laying down these thick lathers just for the purposes of trying to get people to use a thick lather that, you know, might use up their product more quickly? Where a tub of their $30 soap is gone in a month or month and a half, whereas with me it might be 8 months before it's done. I sure hope not. So I've definitely added, I think, enough water here, and kind of got the build up around the sides. So let's just kind of lay down a nice lather here. But now in going back, because I thought maybe I had, you know, because of that first initial load, I thought maybe I didn't grab enough soap, and sure enough, you saw it kind of disappear on my face. I think his custom is that he ends up somehow with more lather on his brush, and so he's able to work up a little bit more. But you saw how I went back the second time, and I don't even think I did 10 swirls, and then bam, you know, I've got this lather right here. So I think there's some merit to his method. But I think basically it kind of boils down to kind of just you're getting the soap wet. You're kind of blooming it with that first load, and then you're kind of priming your face just a little bit with some extra soap and a little bit of soap in that first workup. And then with the second load, now you're kind of doing a person who's bloomed Williams. It's kind of synonymous with their first load, where they go in and, you know, whip it up. Because with fine accoutrements, the classic puck, the hard puck, I discovered that when I went in there with a brush, just 15 seconds of loading is all I needed, and that was with an unbloomed puck, right? And so that's basically kind of what we're doing here. And of course, his specification is use hot water. Now, so that's interesting. You know, why not modify your routine a little bit? Instead of blooming it, maybe bloom it via a brush, and then kind of work a little bit of that early stuff, almost like a pre-clean, a pre-wash. Work a little bit of that early slurry into your face, kind of get your brush, wake up your brush, that sort of thing. And then go back for kind of your real load of, you know, 10 or 12 seconds, which is going to profit you more. You're going to pull up more soap up out of that into your brush, because it's sat there moist now for a couple of minutes after that first load. And so now your second load it picks up more, and then you're just working that into your face, kind of normal face lathery style. Now he said that from that point on, after that, then your brush now contains enough lather to where you can just dip a little bit of water on your brush there, and his I'm pretty sure his instructions weren't really thinking of me saving the lather here. I think he with his process, he probably tries to keep it all on the brush, and then you just add a little bit of water to that, and now that's what you use for your second pass, that sort of thing. So so let's just see how everything goes here. One nice thing I like is that this is a way where you don't start with a lot of concentrate on your face. You've kind of primed, your brush is wet. You've primed your face with a little bit of soap, and then when you start and you build up your lather, it's accompanied by a lot of water, almost Marco style. And so then you're not really putting that concentrate on your face, because sometimes that can bother people, that can give you itchy, that sort of thing. And so that's a neat part about it. All right, so Modern Williams Gillette Silver Blue. Got a handful of uses on it. It's not sliding through the hair smooth like butter, but it's cutting easily and not tugging. A little bit of blade feel. Something fun to try. You know, it definitely looked like a valid method. And just because if somebody comments a crazy method that doesn't make any sense, then, you know, I'm probably not going to try it. But, you know, this one looked like it had some merit. But I think it does kind of boil down to kind of a bloom and then a normal load. And so, but it's got some neat touches to it. I'm really curious if I get virtually the same results by doing this same shave tomorrow with lukewarm water. All right, so there we go, little face rinse. And then we will take the brush, gather up some of the lather from the bowl. Now my second load there I don't think I did the 10 or 12 swirls like he mentioned, but I am able to go in and retrieve this lather here from the bowl, and so I don't think I have the kind of the concentrated brush that he mentioned you could just dip in the water and then generate more lather. And so I'm kind of missing that from, you know, my routine, but so I can just dip back in the water there, and it's still, you know, quite warm. So for those who like warm shaves, who knows, this method here of using a warm, you know, mug of water here, I might start do that every once in a while in the winter, you know. I experimented a lot with modern Williams during August of maybe 2018. And the great new, and I played around with it different ways. We're going to go cross grain now. And this is going to be an easy pass because that first one is the one that took down all the stubble. Almost all of it. And so yeah, this is a smooth, easy, and of course Williams is slicker than snot, and so my razor has excellent glide here. And there we go, super fast. Now if you're a beginner, don't go this fast. Take your time, let your muscles do it right, and then that speed will come over time, but you'll be learning the proper technique as you slowly keep doing it right, is my recommendation. All right, rinse now. And now for a third pass. I've got this much lather in my bowl. Because I work the lather in really well in pass number one and, you know, work my face, I don't need to really scrub a lot. I can just apply it here. Don't need to do a lot of brush work if I don't want to. I don't feel any difference in the hairs, the bristles here in the brush, and so it doesn't seem like that quick dip in the really hot water, you know, did any damage. So, and I thought that might be the case, but I wanted to issue that caution at the beginning of the video because, and if it would have been some kind of long dip in the hot water, I would not have probably done this method at all. But since it's a quick dip, and that's how he specified it, if it's a quick dip, then I could see how that, you know, potentially is not going to damage the hairs. But of course, just, you know, use caution. Now that we've got pretty much 99% of the hair taken off. This is just a nice, comfy, quick, smooth, comfortable, easy pass. Looks like some of the earlier blades might be a little better with this particular head than this Gillette Silver Blue. Of course, it could be maybe a Gillette Silver Blue with just 2 or 3 uses on it is better than one with 8 or 9. You know, that's possible sometimes when you're working with a mild razor. But I don't know if I'd call this a mild razor. You're still getting some blade feel, but it's a mild, technically a mild base plate. And there we go, 3 passes. And so to carry on with my thought earlier, so I saw these guys overloading the soap, obviously, and then putting on stuff, and that first pass was so dry looking. It just looked like stucco on an old house. And if that's the way they want to shave, I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. That's their preference, then they can do that. But for me, I've shaved with lathers like that, and it just is kind of scrapey and kind of irritative and just not very protective to me. And you know, I might try some of that, because as you take such a dry, spackling kind of overloaded brush on your face like these guys do, and as they're spreading it around, it's so dry looking, but you know, they keep going with it. They keep going, and I wonder if somehow there's just, if you keep going with that dryness, it's just something happened to the lather that transforms it into something different. And that's what I'm kind of curious about. And so I might try that sometime, you know, overload the soap, just have a ton of soap on there, and then, you know, maybe gradually after you work it for a good bit, then put your water on it, work that into it, and just, you know, see what happens. And who knows, maybe I can find some new territory, some new lather, a new lather experience that I've avoided because it seemed too dry to me at first. And also, he has some questions, and it's a big question. How do I know when my lather is properly hydrated? How do I know when I can quit adding water? And that got me to thinking. I've addressed that many times on my channel here, just in the context of a normal shave. I've told you guys many times the different things to look for in your lather, but I think it's time I put that together in a separate video. I think that could really help people in a direct way, instead of having to look upon it among my different shave videos. And so I'm getting that together. I'm trying to think of all the different attributes of a lather to try to make sure I get them all in the video. And of course, the shorter answer is I can't tell you when to stop, because our lather preferences could be different. You could want it a little thicker than I do. But what I can do is tell you some attributes about the lather and some things to look for, so that you can watch the lather evolve and notice certain things, some landmarks along the way, so that you can remember those as you're working on your lathers and thinking, oh, if I'm using Stirling beef tallow soap, and if I hit that point right there where the peaks look a certain way, then that's too far for me and I better back off, you know, or something like that. Or boy, if the peaks string up like this, or the landscape of the lather looks like this, then boy, I know I'm almost there, you know. And so giving you those landmarks and those things to look for is what that video is primarily going to be about. And so that's going to be forthcoming. I don't know how many days I'll ruminate over trying to, you know, think of every possible attribute to make it as complete as possible. And of course, remember, different soaps are going to have different points. If you look for a certain shape of a peak in one soap base, then you switch to a different maker, different soap base, then it may be different. You may like that one a little wetter or a little drier. The soaps are made differently. And so where you like them could also fall in a different place in the hydration lifetime of that soap. And so that's one of the reasons we recommend, if you're new at lathering, or if you're just having some problems that you stick with one soap base for a good while, so that you're not introducing those variables, and so you've got some consistency with that hydration lifetime of your lather. So, so that is coming. Well, that was an interesting method. Yeah, I think it does boil down to you're getting your soap wet, and then when your main lather comes in, you've now got kind of a wet soap that's able to give up its goodies a little more readily, and then you're basically face lathering from that point. I think it's a neat little operation. I think if you've got a nice comfy brush that you like, then, and I'll bet just using warm water would be just fine here. I don't think there's anything special. I mean, you know, really the hotter the water is, the more quickly it dissolves things. And so sure, I think there's some potential for the temperature to make a difference, but I'll bet kind of just hot water as opposed to near boiling water, I think there's probably not enough of a difference to warrant the safety concerns about possibly damaging the tips of your brush, that sort of thing. And if you do choose to have, you know, really hot water in your shave environment, then, you know, I just discovered, and it hit me, that there are those pitchers, those electric water heater pitchers that people use for tea, things like that, that you can just have. And there are these that are LED, and they don't even have a burner that's at least outside, and so that could be safe to have in your bathroom to warm up your water for your lather, that sort of thing. And it happens pretty quick. Some of those really whip up that hot water pretty quick. So that could be something you want to bring into your shave routine. So this is Modern Williams. I got a nice shave, nice close shave. Yeah, I'm very happy with that closeness. I don't have any irritation due to like soap dryness. I don't have an itchy feeling. So I was able to achieve a nice hydration level. I have used Williams in a situation where the lather was too dry, and I definitely had that itchy feeling at the end of the shave, and I don't have that at all. And so I like the fact that his method includes a good bit of water, or at least my implementation of it has. And so now we're going to, oh man, I squeezed out too much. Can I squeeze the Stirling and kind of suck some back in? I did suck some of it back into the thing there. I don't need that much. It was like nothing, bam, too much. So, Schon, if I'm pronouncing that close to correctly, I sure hope I am. I apologize if I'm butchering it. It's a German word, if I recall correctly, that means like nice or beautiful, something like that. Pretty cool. SCHO with an umlaut N. It's the method that he told me that he uses for Modern Williams. It was in the context of in the comment of a shave with Mitchell's wool fat. So I wonder if he also has used that with Mitchell's wool fat. You know, perhaps about any hard soap will do. But to be honest, you know, a hard soap like Fine Accoutrements, I've just simply gone to it with a dry puck with a lightly wet brush for 15 seconds and then worked it up, you know. So there we go. I don't really think this lather differs from anything I haven't gotten before with Williams, with my normal lathering process. But sometimes if you guys want a little variation, you'll try something different. Here's a little method for you, and I will. I'll try to lay down. I'll lay down his instructions in the lather comments section in the description of this video, in case you'd like to duplicate them for fun. You know, if you're a fan of the hard soaps, then this might be something to do. Oh yeah, that's oh yeah, I think I'm like at about 65% in terms of my nose after COVID, you know, coming back. Am I coming up to 6 weeks after exposure? So my nose is taking a while to come back fully, but at least it's on its way. So to summarize, I don't feel like I fulfilled his instructions exactly. I think somehow my first load didn't really end up with very much soap on it. And so then when I went back to try to recover a little bit, I actually picked up a good bit of soap. And so I let that be my second load. But I don't think I maybe did it for 10 or 12 swirls. I may actually have. And so I want to be, truthful about representing his method. I may not have done it, accurately. And so compare his comments. If you're curious, compare his comments with his section in my description of the video. Those instructions, compare that with what I did. I want to be faithful to his, to communicate what his method is, and if I differed, then to let you know about that. And so that's what I'm doing. All right. I guess what I really should have said right then was, if I have done his method poorly, I don't want that to reflect poorly on him. And this is that smaller tumbler from Walmart. Let me pull it back here. And 12 ounce. I don't think it's the 20 ounce. But this turns out to be a really good size. And it's that double walled, vacuum sealed there. And so it does a great job of keeping your water warm nicely. And so you can do that sink full of hot water if you want. And then float a lather bowl around in it or something like that. But it could be, and this could be the message that that is most beneficial about his particular system, is that something like this, some type of insulated container with really hot water in it, could bring you a warm shave. For those of you who like that, this could really be the best way of keeping your lather warm. If you're going back in and dipping into it to help your lather out, then you could get a warm experience the whole way. This wasn't really a case of me tracking my water used like I usually do, because it was a face lather, and just regularly I would either dip into the water or sprinkle water on the brush knot itself. So the Gillette Silver Blue with this many uses, 8 or 9 uses, was not as nice as maybe the Gillette Platinum was. The couple of blades that I used in the beginning cut a little more smoothly and cleanly. The comfort was very nice on the second and third passes, but on the first one it wasn't quite as smooth. All right, so just to verbally read you the instructions for those of you who would like me to do that again. The shave is done. I don't think I have any future wisdom, and so if you're not interested in hearing the instructions read to you again, then you can tune out. Thank you so much for joining. I hope the shave has been interesting for you. So he says he doesn't need to bloom or soak the soap prior to his method, and that it works on all brush types. You make up some really hot water, close to boiling if you can. Put that in a separate container, a separate mug, something like that. Then you take your brush and you plunge it in up to the handle in the water, and then pull it out fairly quickly. And then you don't shake it. You take that very quickly to the mug of soap, mug of Williams, and do 10 swirls. Then you apply that slurry to your face thoroughly. Then is the second load, where you go and you do about 10 or 12 swirls. Then you take that to your face and work it in. And that, of course, is your main load, and you just work that in. And then your lather, of course, will start to develop on your brush, and then your future lather can come more from that brush by dipping back into your hot water cup or your hot water mug to then bring that concentrate to your face as more lather. And there we go. Very good. So that's his method. It is my paraphrase of his method, but there we go. My caution again is maybe watch the beginning of the video about the temperature of the water possibly affecting your brushes. I have had heat affect permanently bend synthetic bristles. As long as your water's not too near boiling, I bet you wouldn't have too much to worry about, but it is worth cautioning. All right, And it could potentially harm animal hair brushes as well if your water was too hot, or if you decided to leave your brush in there too long, or something like that. So just be careful. And I would definitely keep that hot water out of the glue ball at the center of your knot. Up in behind this part right here. Keep that really hot water out of that. You could probably drum up yourself some shedding issues if you were to, because that heat would change the expansion and contraction of that glue knot, potentially loosen hairs over time, that sort of thing. You don't want that. And so there we go, the Schon method. And I think one of the things I definitely take away from that is wanting a warm lather using a container like this makes it pretty easy to have that. That's an easy takeaway from that, for sure. And I don't think my Williams lather got too dense. I don't think it got as creamy as I've gotten it with some of my bowl lathers. But those bowl lathers also were ones where I had to work on the lather for a while, because Williams can get really luxuriously creamy. I mean, crazy creamy, where people wouldn't believe that it was modern Williams. It can do that, but it just takes a while to get there. And so this lather wasn't too much different than what I normally generate with my own Williams method, just kind of my standard method. So I don't think it brought too much revolution to the table, but I think it brought something interesting and a variety. And who knows, one of you guys may try it and maybe modify it a little bit, or realize that, hey, this is really nice, I enjoy it, go with it, enjoy it. All right, well, there we go. I hope that you have gotten something good out of this video. And thank you, Schon, for sharing with me your technique. I appreciate that. I hope that I have represented your technique in an accurate way and in a good way. That has been my intention. All right, take care, guys. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Good night.